So thanks, Jennifer, for being on the show. I really appreciate your time.
Of course.
I think this is something that so many people really who have charitable inclinations, they have no idea community foundations even exist. So, I mean, can you kind of give us an idea, like what is a community foundation?
Sure, absolutely. So first, I'll just give you some quick background. So I am the ED here at the Community Foundation of Harford County. But from what I understand, many of your listeners might be all over the country, and odds are they have their very own community foundation that serves their community.
Okay.
And I am in my 14th year of working with community foundations, so I really do love this model. Really what they are is a quick way to think about a community foundation is it's a philanthropic problem-solving organization that exists solely to support your community where you live. So there's community foundations all over the country, almost 1,000. We have 14 here in Maryland. And really each one, we all sort of have a similar model. We're all working on different things based on what we're faced with as a community. So we can do things for families and businesses that really help them create legacies in their communities and support the nonprofits they love now and after they're gone. So it's really sort of a one size fits all. I want to be philanthropic and we want it to be here in our hometown or where we've had our success. You can go to your community foundation and we can work with you to make anything that you want happen.
Okay, so somebody who really they like to give the charity, but they want it to be local. Mm-hmm. Community foundations are a great starting point.
Yes, absolutely. And the other resource, other than being able to open different kinds of funds, which I can tell you more about, is we can really be your philanthropic resource. So we really look at it as our job to be on the ground and understanding what's happening in our community, what the different nonprofits are working on, what nonprofits have a greater need at one time or the other, who's doing the best work in homelessness, who's doing the best work in, domestic violence. It's really, we want to be here to be really philanthropic advisors for the residents of our community to help them figure out, what they want to make happen.
Okay, so if I wanted to give money to a certain cause, you mentioned homelessness. I mean, it could be veteran, military. It could also be religious as well. Is that correct? Okay, so
yeah, you can support religious institutions as long as it's the dollars that they receive isn't just focused to their congregants. It has to be, we want them to be doing good work in the community, and we all know churches almost always are.
Okay, great. So I somebody who kind of likes to be charitable, but they're not really sure exactly who to give to. They're not. Maybe they're worried. Like I'm afraid if I donate to an organization, only 60 cents goes to the actual people in need.
Sure.
You all can advise them on who's doing the work, how to set all this up, everything like that. So somebody can come to you to say, hey, I want to help out kids, and you can help them figure out the right program.
Yeah, we have a lot of families and businesses that will come to us to say, we want you to do some research, and hopefully we already know if we're doing jobs, but we want you to do some research on who is ending homelessness in Harford County. So then it's our job to go out in the field, check up with all those organizations we know are working to end hunger, and just see how they're doing, see what their needs are, and then sort of put together materials for that donor or that business, present it to them so that they can make the decision on who they'd like to fund.
Okay. And then can a donor, does it just go to a general pool of investments, or is there any way that they could have their own particular grant or scholarship or something along those lines?
Yeah, so actually all community foundations will typically have the same types of funds. We offer a variety of funds and estate planning options for both businesses and donors and their families. Like, again, those people that approach us and say, we want to be philanthropic in Harford County, what are your options? So I can tell you quickly a little bit about each kind. So we have something called a donor advised fund. These are kind of like little family foundations under our umbrella. It's essentially a charitable checking account that you can use to support the charities you care about over time. So donors can approach their community foundation, say, I have 10,000, 25,000, 500,000, whatever that number is. The donor immediately gets the deduction for that gift. The community foundation opens the fund in the name that they choose. It could be like the Farrell Family Fund, for example. And then those dollars are invested to grow. And you tell us what charities you'd like us to send a check to in your name as time goes on. These are actually also really popular because you can use them in your lifetime. You can pass them on to your kids at your death, or you can turn it into a field of interest fund that supports the cause you care about forever. and you can leave assets in your will to those funds at any community foundation to really solidify your legacy in the region. And then we also have other funds. A lot of community foundations have scholarship funds. They're pretty straightforward. You tell us the parameters of the student you're looking for. The community foundation reviews student applications each year and sends a scholarship in your name. They almost all have something called an impact or field of interest fund. That's where you tell a community foundation what type of cause you want funded every year. Let's say, again, it's hunger. That means it's up to the community foundation to identify on its own a great organization working to end hunger in your area every single year and after you're gone. And then we also have things called agency endowments. Agency endowments are opened by nonprofits to help support their operations in perpetuity by investing their dollars with us. And then we also have a designated fund, which is, let's say that while you're alive, you fall in love with a nonprofit in your area and you want to make sure that they're getting a check in your family's name forever. You would open a designated fund and tell the community foundation, hey, we want you to send a check every year to the National Heart Association, and that'll happen forever. So there are really a lot of different kind of options, and there are different kinds of things we can do at the end of the donor's life to really kind of tailor what they want to happen in perpetuity.
Okay, so you can help somebody who would like to be actively involved in selecting the charities and may switch their cause from time to time, all the way to the point they just say, look, I want to help out kids, or
yeah,
and then you just run it all for them.
Yeah, pretty much. We're just their entire philanthropic back office, and that's why I love community foundations so much, is that we really make like really deep, thoughtful philanthropy available to everybody. This isn't, a lot of people think, oh, to be a philanthropist, I have to be a millionaire. That's not true. Most community foundations have a $10,000 minimum for any fund, and for us, we allow people to get to that over 3 years. Okay. So we try to make it available to everybody.
Okay, well, that's great. So can you explain a little bit the difference between if somebody were to give money to a community foundation or if they just gave money directly to a charity in a given year? Like, how does that operate differently?
Yeah, so really what we try to say is community foundations, we also feel like we're here to promote philanthropy in general. We're never going to step in front of you in a nonprofit and say, no, give it to us instead. We totally support everyone giving those annual checks that they're writing. People might come to a community foundation because they might want to formalize it. They want to name it after their family and they want that check to go from that fund. People might do that because they want to be relatively anonymous. Maybe they don't want the nonprofits to have their address. The community foundation can sort of protect them from that. But really the big difference with community foundations is this is more of a long-term philanthropic strategy, right? It's not just writing the check every year to the nonprofit you love. This is saying, I know that I love this nonprofit. I know that I love this cause, whatever that cause is. I want to formalize it. I want it to grow. And I want those nonprofits working in those areas to get a bigger check every single year. And I want it to go on forever. So it's really more of like a long-term thinking of how you can support the county that you live in or the region or wherever your community foundation serves.
Okay, great. So when people are using the foundation, it's ideal that they be thinking you're build something that's going to pay out maybe even long after the person's deceased and moved on.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, but we also have, like what I talked about, those donor advised funds. You can write your annual checks to operations out of those funds, and you could change your mind one year and say, I'm not going to include that nonprofit this year. So we do a lot of that too, and those can be spent down really whenever the donor wants to, unless it's a permanent endowed fund. So it's really pretty flexible of how you want to operate it. But right, that's kind of what we encourage, is that long-term thinking to really sustain our local nonprofits, because we want our regions to thrive.
Okay. And do you see quite a bit where somebody, maybe they give to, say, Boys and Girls Club or a national organization, but they'd like it to, if they could, stay in the county that they live in? I mean, is that where you see a lot of folks using community foundations?
Yeah, absolutely. So, and all of our grants that we send from those donor advised funds, or even however you set up your fund, if you set up a designated fund for a specific charity, you could say, I want this grant every year to be used to keep up a building that the charity owns. So really it can be as specific as you want. It can be, you can send a check that restricts it to the use that you want it to be used for.
Okay. And then do you typically have, or most community foundations have already have relationships or funds set up for a lot of the local charities? And if you didn't have one set up, I mean, is it pretty easy for a new donor to establish?
Yeah, so we have, so the two funds that really speak to supporting a specific charity are those designated funds. And the designated funds, again, are the one that a donor sets up for a specific charity to help that charity get a check from that fund every year. And then the other one is the agency funds, and that's the one that the nonprofit sets up.
Okay.
So we don't open funds on our own. We wait until the donors of the nonprofits approach us, but we do feel like it's our job to let every single nonprofit that we are here know that we are here, because they might have had a couple great fundraising years and realize, okay, we just have this extra money sitting in an account. Let's do something with it. Let's invest it to grow so that 50 years from now, we'll be getting a huge check, which is going to make our life easier because we're not going to have to fundraise for that money every year. Does that make sense?
Oh, sure. Okay. And I imagine, with COVID hitting last year, I know personally a lot of charities had to get rid of events and or try to create some virtual events, which were never money drivers, like if you're right there. So I probably have a feeling you saw some higher requests in the last year.
Yeah, and actually, a really cool thing about community foundations, across all the community foundations in the United States, we all granted over $1 billion to our respective nonprofits and our respective communities. So that actually touches on another part of community foundations. So we don't just do that working with families and businesses to shape their philanthropy. We also have our philanthropic initiatives of our own based on what we see as hurting the community. Last year, at pretty much every community foundation said it's COVID-19. It's those nonprofits that are struggling because, like you said, couldn't have events, couldn't meet donors face-to-face to ask for big gifts. So what community foundations did was really fundraise from their own fund holders and say, would you be willing to contribute to this bucket of money that we will then allow every nonprofit in our region apply for, tell us what their needs are, and then we'll get the money out to the nonprofits. And that's really what I would say pretty much every single community foundation did last year, was really focus on, let's help the nonprofits out. That's a big part of why we exist.
Okay, great. And I know, we've talked offline before. So there's a potential also, not just for the normal charitable deductions, on your itemized Schedule A, but I know the state of Maryland also has a credit on top of the deduction.
Yes, it's really fortunate. Not every state has this. We have a state here in Maryland that's really committed to community foundations. So we have something that's called Endow Maryland. It's a state tax credit that rewards donors who help build permanent charitable funds for their local communities across our state. So it really gives Marylanders an incentive to give back to the local community in a meaningful and lasting way. So what that is, it's donors who make charitable contributions between $500,000 and $250,000 to any qualified permanent fund at any community foundation are eligible to receive a 25% Maryland tax credit. And we do have a set amount of tax credits. So we do try to tell people, if you want to do this, if you want to support one of the endowed funds at the community foundation, maybe try to do it earlier in the year so they don't run out. But really wonderful opportunity. It's a really great way for community foundations to build their endowment so that we can make a bigger impact on the community.
Okay, yeah, I mean that's huge, and just for people listening, typically when you get a charity, you get a deduction, so that reduces your income, but a credit reduces your tax liability dollar for dollar. So it's enormous.
Yes, it's really incredible. We're really lucky to have it.
Yeah.
This is actually the first year that we used all of the community foundations share them. They were all used up by mid-July, it's quick. So that means it's growing in popularity, which is great for the state in general.
Okay, great. So it's not something, it's something you have to really be actively looking at, because you don't want to just come in on December 31st because that credit might be gone. The dollars.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. I think in my experience, since this was established, it's almost always gone in November. This is the first year where it's July. So I would say, if you're interested in this program, I would think about it sooner, early in 2022 than later.
Okay. And you can basically, if I'm not mistaken, any kind of estate planning technique that somebody might be looking to do, a charitable remainder annuity trust, a charitable remainder, unified trust, all that kind of stuff can be established through the community foundations. Is that
right? So So we do ask people to advise their lawyer or work with their estate attorney
Sure.
advisors, because we are not experts. We're experts in philanthropy, but not in your specific tax situation.
Sure.
We can work with people to establish charitable gift annuities, charitable remainder trust, charitable leave trust, all that good stuff. We'll work with your advisor and attorney to just figure out, what's your fixed rate going to be based on your age and your lifespan? What are the charities you want to support? It could be charities outside of us even. So yeah, we offer all kinds of really good estate planning tools. But really, the simplest way to leave a legacy to a community foundation is just to open a fund, tell us what you want the fund to do after your death, or you can use it in your lifetime too, like we talked about, and then add some simple language to your will that instructs your estate to send whatever you want to be added to that fund. The really great part about that, as far as using your will for your charitable giving with the community foundation, is that you can change your mind without having to pay to go back to your lawyer. As long as you're of sound mind, you can contact the community foundation to say, I know I told you I wanted my fund to support breast cancer nonprofits, but I actually also really care about homelessness now. So add that to the kinds of charities you're going to support in my name forever. So there's a lot of flexibility, and you can change your mind in all kinds of ways, and even decide you want to choose the specific charity that's going to get that check every year. We try to make it really easy for people to figure out, how can I leave a really meaningful, lasting impact on the place that I live and have had my success.
Okay. And when we talk, I know your family, your sister and you are looking to even create something on environmental issues. So even if it's just something you would like to do, there's a way to build it up through the foundation. Okay.
Right. As long as there's a nonprofit in our region that's working on the area that you care about, we can make it happen. But even if there's a nonprofit, let's say there's a nonprofit in the next county over that we know does work in our county, but they're not actually based here. Well, we can work with that nonprofit to say, we have this fund for Harford County use. We know you do work in Harford County, so we're going to send you this money, but you have to restrict it for use in Harford County. It can get really as specific as donors want. And we know that people care about keeping the money in their communities. So we can really make sure that those nonprofits do that.
Okay. Now what if it was something that, like maybe Fisher's House, that help military vets and folks that have been, physically damaged overseas or something.
Right.
How, like, there may not be an immediate need in the county that you live in. How do you handle that if somebody still wanted to do that organization, ideally in the local county, but they can't?
Yeah. So if the donors decided, look, Fisher Foundation is it. This is what I want to support. I want it to be in Harford County. Ideally, what you can really do is you can start out with a designated fund for the Fisher House and stipulate in the grant that will be sent out every year that this needs to be used in Harford County if they are working in Harford County. And then if there ever is a time where there is a new branch of that organization existing in Harford County, the community foundation could use variance power to support the donor's wishes to make sure that that organization is receiving the check from now on. So one of the really cool things about community foundations, not to go off on too much of a tangent, but something unusual, it's called variance power. So this is something that allows us to make sure that we're supporting very specifically a donor's wishes forever. So let's say, for example, you're supporting an organization that helps cats. You really love cats. You want to make sure that this organization is going to get your grant every year in your name in perpetuity. Let's say something terrible happens and that nonprofit goes under, it folds. So the community foundation can then use the variance power to say, we're going to go back to that original agreement. We're going to read it really closely. And we're going to say, gosh, this person really cared about cats. Let's look at what that nonprofit is doing. And let's find another nonprofit in our area doing as close as possible to that work so that we can be sure that that donor's wishes are fulfilled forever. So it's really, donor intent is just the highest thing that community foundations think about. We have to go back to those fund agreements, no matter how old they are, to say, let's make sure that we're doing exactly what this donor wanted us to do, because that is the most important thing to us.
Okay. But no dogs, right? No dogs, only cats.
Dogs are fine. I love dogs.
Well, great. That's awesome. So like, where would people get more information on your community foundation in Harford County, but also just in general? Like, if somebody is hearing this in Florida or North Carolina, how do you go about finding information on it?
Yeah, well, remember that, what I said, your community foundation might even have more options than I discussed. So I really do reach people. I advise people to reach out to their local community foundation. And really what you can do is if you go to the Council on Foundations website, cof.org, and go to the community foundation page, it's going to tell you what your community foundation, what your closest community foundation is.
Okay.
And like I said, we're all pretty much the same, but they might have something that I didn't even mention. So if you're ever just kind of wondering how you can begin your journey in philanthropy or formalize it or get more serious about it, I really encourage you to reach out to your community foundation because we're just amazing resources. And, maybe you could start a fund that starts out sending $1,000 a year, but after your death, but who knows what it could be giving 10 years after that. So it really is just lasting impact to support your specific community. And if you'd like to learn more about us, our website is cfharfordcounty.org.
Okay, great. Well, Jennifer, thank you so much for your time. I've been trying to get this information out to listeners for a long time. It's something, like I said, it's kind of under the radar in charity in many cases. So it's something I think people really need to know about.
Yeah, and people get really excited when they learn about their community foundations because it's such an amazing resource. And who doesn't want to help make their community better?
Absolutely, absolutely. I don't know how you guys manage all the different programs. I mean, but
experience.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Well, again, thanks so much. And we'll put the contact information in our show notes as well, so people can get the information there. But yeah, I really appreciate your time.
Great. Thank you so much. This was fun.
Okay. Take care.
You too.